Greetings! Before I tell this story, I would ask you to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stories like this. And now we begin our story.
The last night, before the wedding, Callum had been counting down the days until he could finally call Dorian his husband. Their love was supposed to be unbreakable, a foundation strong enough to withstand any storm. Yet the night before their wedding, everything seemed to shift beneath his feet. Evander, Dorian's best friend and partner in crime, had organized one last celebration for the groom, a bachelor party meant to be wild but harmless. Callum, unaware of the darker undercurrents, watched as his closest circle prepared for a night of freedom and laughter. The chosen venue was Marcellus's infamous strip club, a place whispered about in shadowed corners and known for a clientele that sought escapism in flashy lights and seductive performances. Evander, eager to give Dorian an unforgettable send-off from the single life, had no idea that this club hid secrets deeper than just its peeling wallpaper and neon glow. Meanwhile, Sable, Callum's sister, was already there, her presence cloaked in mystery and unspoken pain. Her night job at Marcellus's establishment was a secret she guarded fiercely, an attempt to shield her family from a truth far too raw. Callum's mind wandered to Dorian as he prepared for the evening's events. The nervous anticipation of becoming one flesh soon mingled with a gnawing feeling he couldn't quite place. The jokes between Evander and Thaddeus, friends since childhood, filled the air but did little to soothe his growing unease. Moments before leaving, Isolde, Callum's closest confidant, offered a reassuring smile, her intuition sharper than anyone else's. Isolde had known Dorian for years and worried silently about the wild party plans, sensing that the night could take a turn no one wanted. Inside the club, the atmosphere was electric in an unsettling way. Marcellus, the owner, watched from his throne-like seat, his calculating eyes gleaming with secrets only he could decipher. Sable moved between the pulsating crowds with practiced grace, her disguise perfect to the casual observer, but a betrayal to her soul. She carried a hidden burden, knowing that if Callum or Dorian discovered her double life, everything might collapse. Yet, it was not just the club's performances that night that would demand unveiling. It was the tangled web of friendships, betrayals, and choices that would take center stage. As the hours slipped by, Dorian's laughter grew louder, his inhibitions lower. The men surrounding him cheered and toasted, believing the night to be a harmless rite of passage. But Thaddeus, ever observant and less entangled in the excitement, noticed the way Dorian's eyes lingered too long on one figure. To Thaddeus's horror, that figure was not just any dancer, but Sable herself, performing with a vulnerability that defied the club's usual impassiveness. The realization hit him like a storm. Dorian had unknowingly stepped into a world none of them were prepared to face. Back outside, Callum's phone buzzed relentlessly. Isolde's frantic messages pleaded for him to stay away, hinting at revelations too heavy to handle harmlessly. Yet, curiosity and love pushed Callum toward the club's neon-lit entrance. The heavy door shut behind him, the air thick with smoke and whispered secrets. Sable caught sight of him, a flicker of panic crossing her features, before she forced a composed smile. Their eyes locked, and in that moment, years of unspoken truths threatened to surface. Inside, the party unraveled further as the night sky deepened. Evander's grin faltered when he noticed the tension between Callum and Dorian, the warm camaraderie replaced by guarded glances and silence that screamed louder than words. The friends began to question the night's purpose, the wild revelry suddenly feeling like a heavy chain binding a fragile trust. Marcellus, sensing the shift, slipped away into the shadows to watch the chaos he had inadvertently helped unleash. Dorian, caught in a whirlwind of emotions, felt the weight of the past and present collide when Sable approached him after her set. The conversation was quiet but charged, a turbulent mix of regret, confusion, and raw honesty. Secrets spilled forth, hidden struggles, mistakes made in the name of loyalty, and the impossible choices that defined their relationships. Callum, standing just beyond the flickering lights, realized that the life he thought he knew was changing irreversibly. Thaddeus stepped forward, his voice steady but grave, revealing what he had witnessed to Evander. The once jubilant best man now bore the heavy role of truth-bearer, forcing everyone to confront the delicate fractures in their friendship and love. Isolde's warnings echoed anew as she arrived at the club, ready to support Callum through the unfolding storm. The night that should have been about celebration transformed into a crucible where bonds were tested and destinies rewritten. As dawn neared, the tension in the club remained thick, the thin veneer of normalcy shattered. Callum knew the coming hours would decide everything, whether their love could survive betrayal and secrets, or whether it would crumble before their wedding vows. The stories of each character intertwined, weaving a complex tapestry of human flaws and fierce devotion that no party could ever fully hide. With heavy hearts and uncertain futures, they all faced the dawn of a new day that promised reckoning. The night before the wedding had turned into a reckoning none of them saw coming. Callum stepped out into the cool morning air, the weight of truths unfolding behind him. His resolve hardened even as his heart cracked wide open. With Isolde by his side, he prepared for the conversations and confrontations that awaited. The delicate dance between forgiveness and betrayal was only just beginning, promising that the days to come would be unlike any they had ever imagined. Secrets in the spotlight. Callum had never expected a night meant for celebration to unravel into a storm of betrayal and revelation. The plan had seemed simple. A last memorable evening with Dorian and his closest friends before the wedding. The group, bursting with anticipation, followed Evander, the ever-organized best friend, into the dimly lit streets leading to one of the city's oldest strip clubs. Its neon lights flickered like forbidden secrets waiting to be exposed. Callum felt uneasy but pushed the feeling down, reminding himself this was just a harmless rite of passage. As they entered, the atmosphere was thick with pulsing music and murmurs. The scent of perfume, sweat, and something darker hung in the air. Marcellus, the club owner with a reputation that sent chills through the underworld, nodded curtly at Evander, who smiled back, unaware of the storm about to unfold. Callum's eyes adjusted to the shadows, and then, among the silhouettes, he spotted her. Sable, his sister, transformed by the stage lights and the heavy makeup into someone unrecognizable. His heart staggered. Sable's presence there was a shock powerful enough to halt time. The glitter on her skin sparkled under the spotlights while she moved with a grace that belonged to another world. Callum's mind scrambled. This wasn't the sister he knew from family dinners or secret childhood adventures. The disparity between the girl he had grown up with and the woman performing for a crowd of strangers tangled his emotions into knots. He wanted to call her name, to question her, but the moment shattered by a sudden voice behind him. Thaddeus, their childhood friend, whose careless words often betrayed more than he intended, leaned in too close. "Dude, you're really going to want to see this," he whispered, unable to keep the excitement out of his tone. Callum's brows furrowed as Thaddeus motioned toward a private booth where Dorian sat, his posture relaxed but not innocent. The sight slammed into Callum harder than the bass that shook the floor beneath them. Dorian was laughing with a dancer, too intimate for one about to marry. Isolde, ever the loyal friend, stepped up beside Callum, sensing his turmoil. Her steady hand on his shoulder was a lifeline amidst the storm of emotions rushing through him. She whispered words of strength and resolve, a reminder that he was not alone in this moment of darkness. Her calm presence contrasted sharply with the chaos around them. Yet, the deeper Callum stared, the more he realized that the night's secrets did not stop at his sister or Dorian's betrayal. Marcellus's sharp gaze scanned the room like a predator protecting his domain. Known for manipulating those around him with rare skill, he noticed Callum's shock and moved closer, his smile concealing an agenda far from friendly. "First time here?" Marcellus intoned, his voice smooth yet deadly. Callum wanted to escape but felt rooted by the entanglement of family, friendship, and deception all converging within these walls. The club was no longer a place of celebration. It was a crucible revealing hidden truths. Thaddeus, oblivious to the full weight of his revelation, spilled details about the night. "You know Dorian's not usually this loyal, right? Evander tried to keep the party clean, but the guys wanted something else. His words were careless daggers, stabbing at Callum's trust and fueling the fire of doubt. The friendship that was supposed to stand strong became a fragile shell, cracking under the pressure of uncovered lies and broken promises. Callum's gaze locked with Dorian's across the smoky room. Dorian, caught in the spotlight of exposure, could no longer dismiss Callum's stare. In that instant, the facade crumbled, revealing a man torn between guilt and defiance. "It wasn't supposed to happen," Dorian confessed, voice low and laden with regret. Yet the damage was done. Callum's world shifted beneath him, a precarious collapse of plans and dreams. The wedding that once symbolized unity now loomed like a shadow of pain and betrayal. Beside Callum, Isolde remained his pillar. Her presence was a balm to his scorched spirit, urging him to face the chaos with courage rather than despair. "You deserve the truth," she insisted, "no matter how harsh it is." Callum nodded, understanding that hiding from these painful revelations would only delay the inevitable confrontation. With every fragment of trust shattered, the path ahead grew steeper but clearer. Sable's eyes met Callum's briefly as she stepped off the stage during a break. For a fleeting moment, vulnerability replaced her usual bravado. There was an unspoken apology, a silent plea for understanding that tangled Callum's heart even further. The lines between betrayal and compassion blurred, pulling him into a whirlpool of conflicting emotions. Each choice now carried the weight of fractured relationships and uncertain futures. The night pressed on, tension coiling tighter as Dorian awaited a reckoning that was long overdue. Evander, though loyal, felt powerless amidst the unfolding drama, torn between supporting his friend and accepting the truth. Marcellus observed from the shadows, a puppeteer anticipating his next move. The intertwined fates of everyone in that room depended on how Callum would respond to the devastating upheaval. As dawn approached, the city outside remained oblivious to the turmoil within the club's walls. Callum took a breath, the heavy air thick with regret and resolve. This night had stripped away all illusions, demanding honesty at a cost few could bear. The tangled secrets illuminated by the spotlight could no longer be ignored, and the inevitable confrontation with Dorian loomed like a storm on the horizon. The future had shifted irrevocably, and with Isolde's quiet strength beside him, Callum braced for the choices that awaited beyond this night. Redemption and reckoning. Callum sat alone in the dim glow of his apartment, the heavy silence pressing against his thoughts like a weight he could scarcely bear. The week before the wedding, everything he had envisioned crumbled in pieces, each shard sharper than the last. Dorian had promised forever, yet under neon lights at a place meant only for laughter and celebration, that promise flickered and died. The revelation of Dorian's betrayal was a bitter pill, not only the infidelity, but the knowledge that Sable, his own sister, was entangled unwittingly in this web, performing behind the scenes at the very strip club where it happened, an intersection of heartbreak and family he never imagined. Sable's life had always been a patchwork of secrets and sacrifices. When Callum confronted her, her eyes were pools of conflicted sorrow and fierce loyalty. "I didn't know it was going to be them," she whispered, voice trembling like a fragile thread. The truth lay tangled. Sable had taken the job out of necessity, a means to pay mounting debts and keep her past buried beneath layers of steel resolve. Yet, seeing Dorian there, so close to the man she once confided in as a brother, shattered her carefully constructed walls. Marcellus, the ruthless owner, wielded control not only over the club, but over the lives ensnared in it, his shadow darkening every decision. His brooding presence loomed like a storm cloud waiting to break. Callum's turmoil deepened when Thaddeus, an old childhood friend, stumbled into the fragile balance of their lives. His careless admission, an offhand comment about the bachelor party's wild night, pierced the veil of secrecy like lightning. It was Thaddeus who first pieced together the night's events and revealed the horrifying convergence: Dorian's betrayal, the club, Sable's secret job, The revelation set Callum's world ablaze with rage and pain, yet amidst the chaos rose Evander, Dorian's closest friend, and the man who had organized the ill-fated bachelor night. Unlike the others, Evander wrestled with guilt, determined to make amends for the damage done. Evander's attempts at reconciliation were awkward, yet genuine. He sought space to explain, to offer insight into the night that spiraled so out of control. What troubled Callum most was not Evander's presence, but the fragile trust that had cracked between all of them. Evander revealed the pressures and distractions that had clouded judgment, Marcellus's influence on the club, the alcohol, and the absence of conscious thought. Despite all excuses, the betrayal weighed heavier than any explanation. Still, through Evander's efforts, a sliver of hope flickered. Perhaps wounds could heal, and redemption was not beyond reach. Sable wrestled with her own loyalty. Was her allegiance to her brother, to the man she once considered a friend, but now saw as a betrayer, or to the life she had fought so hard to build for herself? The club kept her tied to a world she despised, but family ties pulled her heart in other directions. Isolde, Callum's steadfast friend, became her lifeline, an anchor to stability and a voice pragmatism in stormy seas. Together they navigated the storm with cautious honesty, Sable confessing her fears and hopes. Isolde's unwavering support gave Sable the courage to confront Marcellus, whose threats amplified the tension between personal and practical survival. The night of confrontation was charged with a volatile mix of fear and defiance. Marcellus, ever the oppressor, sought to tighten his grip, warning Sable and anyone who dared defy him about the consequences looming ahead. His intimidating presence forced a reckoning among the group, dragging every hidden worry and resentment to the fore. Callum stared down Marcellus, the embattled future of his wedding and family hanging precariously in the balance. No longer could secrets shield them. They had to face the harsh truths that had long festered in shadows. Amidst this turmoil, Callum found himself at a crossroads. Forgiveness seemed an insurmountable peak to scale, yet hatred promised no solace. His heart teetered between despair and the faint glimmer of mercy. Could he trust Dorian again? Could the man he loved learn to bear the weight of his actions? The impending wedding date loomed, a reminder of promises made and broken, each memory of joy now intertwined with betrayal, leaving Callum to question which version of his future was real. As the days passed, Sable confronted her past with resolve, deciding to step away from Marcellus's grasp, even if it meant risking everything. The choice was a declaration of strength and an attempt to reclaim agency over her life and family. Calls with Isolde became planning sessions, strategizing how to shield Callum from more pain and how to support each other through the unraveling. Their alliance formed a bulwark against the storm, an unspoken promise of endurance beyond the pain. Callum's interaction with Dorian grew more complex. Beneath the initial storm of anger emerged moments of raw vulnerability. Late-night conversations stripped away defenses, revealing remorse and a plea for forgiveness. Dorian did not seek to justify his actions, but to admit his failings and beg for a chance to repair the broken foundation. Callum wrestled with his own heart, torn between love's resilience and the sting of betrayal. Trust, once shattered, demanded an unyielding path to rebuild. Evander remained by Callum's side, not merely as Dorian's friend, but as a bridge between fractured hearts. His willingness to listen, to support, and to act as mediator brought moments of clarity. The night of the bachelor party, once a symbol of reckless freedom, now served as a painful lesson etched into their memories. Evander's efforts underscored the possibility that even in darkness, accountability and redemption might prevail. As the wedding day approached, the group confronted the truth in full. Each character bore scars, some visible, others buried deep within. Callum's journey was not just about forgiving Dorian, but about understanding himself and the resilience love demanded. Sable's courage inspired others to stand tall against fear, and Evander's dedication to amends kindled hope that broken bonds could mend. Marcellus remained a looming threat, but no longer an unchecked tyrant. The collective strength of those betrayed and broken began to redefine their futures. The climax unfolded in a poignant moment of reckoning where past and present collided. Callum, Sable, and Dorian faced each other with raw honesty, their intertwined fates laid bare. This was no fairy tale ending, but a complex, emotional truth that demanded courage and grace. The night before their vows, they chose to confront pain instead of hiding from it, stepping into an uncertain future armed with newfound understanding. With the dawn breaking on their wedding day, the air was thick with emotion. The road ahead was fraught with challenges, but paved with possibility. Callum knew healing would be a journey, not a destination. Yet with love's faint flame burning within, he was ready to face whatever lay beyond betrayal. The past lingered but no longer ruled. It was time to write new chapters, where loyalty, trust, and forgiveness could reshape their lives in ways they never thought possible. What awaited them was unknown, but whichever direction they chose, it would be with eyes wide open and hearts willing to try.